Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's the last episode of the NFL podcast. It's been a long old ride, but it's had to come to an end. This week just gone, we saw Super Bowl 53 go into the history books, and it certainly did go into the history books. Some might say not for the right reasons. So, have a little listen to this, see what our take on the actual Super Bowl was, see what stats and things like that we've got for you, see how our predictions did, and then see how we wrap up the end of the season. So here we go. This is the Cookiecast NFL Podcast Super Bowl Roundup. I'll take her acceptance for everyone. I have to go. So,
Blip. Blip.
Kicked it.
Blip. Blip.
Okay, so lots of things happening with flashing lights. Really must get that other one sorted. Realised that today.
Yeah. There's a fifth camera.
Shh. We don't need to go into details.
Going for the...
Forgetting close-ups, you know, so we don't have to look at my fat gut. Mostly. Mostly. So.
Hi.
That reeked of.
I was ready to launch into it. Yeah. Hello.
Oh God, she's off. So this is it. This is it. It's the last podcast ever.
Final showdown.
Unless we do manage to get a big league roundup one arranged for some time in the very near future.
Oh, because everybody was well over that, weren't they?
There was an overwhelming response.
Was it Tim Lacey?
Tim Lacey straight in there. Weirdly enough, Rob was like, yeah, I'm well up for that. And then he asked me yesterday, he was like, are we doing this big podcast thing then? I was like, yeah, no, nobody other than you came back to me, so maybe not.
What more do you need than the three of us?
Just the three of us?
Yep.
Don't know. So, it's podcast time, and it's NFL podcast time, and this is the last NFL podcast. It's weird to work out, isn't it? Because technically it's the last NFL podcast of the 2018 season, even though it's February 2019.
Yeah, but that's how the Merkins do things.
Because it's not the last of 2019, because we'll be back again. But it's time to fold it again, put it in a cupboard,
for safekeeping.
Shut the door. Maybe
set the cupboard on fire.
Maybe a little latch, maybe. And then
burn the house to the ground.
Walk away. I've already stopped speaking to 85% of the fantasy league. Tim Lacey, Sinbin member, came to speak to me today. I was like, you and I have nothing to talk about now. But he did come to talk to me about football, so Then he asked me a question about work, and I'm like,
Why is he asking you about football?
jog on. Not round ball.
Oh, American football.
American.
God, yeah.
So the Super Bowl 53 has been and gone.
Never happened, yeah.
It never happened. Or a lot of people wish it had never happened.
Super Bowl 53 won by nobody.
That'd be amazing. I am officially on the fence, ladies and gentlemen. I can't decide. Because, as I was saying to my glamorous co-host, speaking of which, my glamorous co-host, Miss Paul Williams, is here. And we're joined by the stats mistress for the final time.
Do you have some stats?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy!
Maybe.
I got all sorts for today.
find some.
It's not true. I've just got a list of people that I want to
Yeah, I've
send
got my
some.
thank you list.
I was going to say, you got your thank you list?
No. I'll think of something on the spot.
Yes, okay.
That's how I do my best work.
We would like to thank you, Paul.
Oh, that's a lie.
Yeah,
That's an absolute filthy lie.
just
Joking.
ruin my thank you list.
Definitely.
Oh man, I don't know if this jumper makes me feel fatter than a jersey. Can you read what it says?
Nuffle.
It says Nuffle. So this is to mark the end of the season because I don't need to wear a jersey because there's no teams playing or not playing or whatever. So I went with this. I also think I'm getting some kind of illness.
Lurgy.
There's a lot of throat and head.
Throaty.
So, as the Americans would say, it sounds a lot like a head cold.
Oh, Jesus.
Rather than a foot cold. Super Bowl 53, been and gone. Done. In the bag. As a lot of you have
Exciting roller coaster. it was.
probably seen by now. It has been rated or reviewed, or whatever you want to call it, as the worst Super Bowl in history. And in some ways,
I concur.
I'd probably agree. And in other ways, like I was saying to my glamorous co-host on the way here, there's a kind of a thing that sort of says maybe it wasn't the worst, maybe it was the best.
What? Given the last 2 Super Bowls we've had. So 2 years ago, you had the only Super Bowl to ever go to overtime.
Loves me some overtime, but it could have gone. Overtime. Overtime could have been because it was 3-3 at the end of full time.
I was dreading the idea of Sundays
I
going
was
into
going to say
overtime.
more of this. No, thank you.
I put a little slice. It was at least 25p on the finishing score to be 3-0, and I think that was like half time. So
it was just if I'm remembering this correct, which is impressive because I'm pretty sure I've wiped all of it from my memory. Was it 3-3 going into the 4th quarter?
something like that.
I don't think the Pats scored until the 4th
Yeah.
quarter. They didn't score the touchdown until the 4th
Yeah.
quarter. Jesus Christ!
You were going through the predictions from
Oh, my
last
God.
week.
We could not have been further away.
Jesus, but one of them
Oh,
was
hang
like
on. Under 50 points. Yes.
one of the predictions was something about the first touchdown, and we were like,
Was it? Will there be a touchdown scored in the opening drive?
There was some. It was like
there was loads of
Was
who
there
will score the
first
first touchdown.
touchdown over 45 yards
Yeah.
or something. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah. We can recap on those shortly.
yeah. There's a lot of predictions to talk about. So let's break it down. Super Bowl 53, 3rd of February, 2019.
Sunday, February 3rd.
Sunday, February 3rd.
True that.
2019. Between, as we already know, the Los Angeles Rams take on the dynasty, the New England Patriots. A fresh,
It was such annoyance.
a fresh face, young quarterback by the name of Jared Goff going up against the veteran and some would say GOAT.
I got confused there because when you said a fresh-faced quarterback, I was like, Tom Brady, fresh face.
He certainly wasn't on Sunday. That's for fucking sure.
Did you see the bit right at the start where they showed pictures, like the comparison? I think
the 10 years.
No, it wasn't even that. I think it was like the year of the first Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah. So Belichick and Belichick.
So that he looked a little bit different. Then it showed Brady. Brady was a right chubby little bastard when
Yeah,
he was
he was.
first playing.
Yeah.
Then he's matured into this chiseled heartthrob, loved across the world,
By no one.
but not even by his own wife, I'd imagine.
A smug
She took her
face
time to,
only a mother could love.
Find him.
She did. Didn't she have a little dabble with Justin Timberlake at some point? Or was it Leonardo DiCaprio?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think she was with Giselle.
In my recent,
I'm sure she was with Leonardo
I
DiCaprio.
didn't know at the end of the game.
Oh,
in my recent podcasts. I've been looking into a lot of stuff to do with podcasts, which, you know, probably a little late to the game. One of them is you should never say anything you can't prove or say, in my opinion, or I think. You can still say I think, but say it with confidence. So what you should have said there was, Giselle, she was definitely banging Leonardo.
I'm fairly certain that Leonardo DiCaprio was getting him some of that at one point.
Who hasn't? I'm pretty sure I've had a bit of Leonardo at some point, or he's had some of me, whichever way it is. Pretty sure he's had a bit of almost everyone.
Just points.
So, yeah, then there was the picture of Goff. And he was he was a child.
4 years old.
He was a child. But he was wearing a jersey, so, you know, good on him. Knew what he wanted to do. So, there's a lot going into this. You've got to look at the fact that a lot of people said Rams probably shouldn't have been there. Should have probably been the Saints. They're now saying, and this was something I found very interesting, especially at that point in time, talking at the start of the Super Bowl about how that call is basically being said officially or unofficially, whichever way you want to slice it, that it was a bad call.
Mm-hmm.
But as Sean Payton said, that's a Super Bowl call.
Oh yeah, big time.
So because they made the wrong call, that stopped the Saints going to the Super Bowl. Saints going to the Super Bowl, it would have been a different game. It would have been a completely different game. It would have.
I don't know though.
You know, who knows? You can't say it, but two veterans going up against each other, two veteran teams, and so on and so forth. But we got the Super Bowl that we got, and that was that. Officially, the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history. So of all 53 Super Bowls, it was the lowest scoring Super Bowl. The game ended 13-3.
It did.
To the Patriots. So nobody's happy about that, apart from the 3 or 4 Patriot fans.
The lowest scoring winning team in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, that's number of stats, the number of records that were broken.
I mean, that's only by 1 point, to be fair. Because apparently the lowest scoring Super Bowl before this one was 21 points. It was 14-7.
Right.
So,
another record broken.
There was records broken left, right and centre, but not the records you'd expect. Unfortunately, Brady Thanos will now complete the Infinity Gauntlet, and the half of the universe that don't support the Patriots will be wiped out of existence.
Half the universe that don't support the Patriots? You think half the universe support the Patriots?
Surely that's the way it works, isn't it? That's why he's been doing it. To get rid of all the people that don't support the Patriots. Maybe it's more. Maybe in his world, it's just, you know, there will be like 12 people left.
Oh dear.
If I'm honest, if it saved me from watching another Patriots Super Bowl, I probably welcome it. I'm so past this. Let's watch another Patriots Super Bowl and talk about how they're the greatest.
This was the thing for me. Because I watched it in the same place I watched it last year, a bar in Leeds. And the difference in the atmosphere between the year before's game and this year's game was like... It was the difference. I'd probably equate it to... The first one was like being at a wedding. That sort of half the atmosphere.
And this one was being at a funeral.
It really was, because it was so quiet in there. No one, the only time anyone sort of got excited was when the Rams were driving, and that obviously didn't last very fucking long.
It really didn't.
So
I mean, I got to a point where I was like, I think that it showed Goff before he walked onto the field, and I was like, tell you what, mate, just stay there. Save yourself the time of walking on, throwing the ball or handing the ball off 3 times.
It says a lot.
Jog on.
It says a lot when the Rams' best and most consistent player of the entire game
was the kicker.
Was the punter. Johnny Hecker was absolutely fucking nailing it.
I think one of the stats is that they broke the record for the
most number of punts?
Most consecutive number of drives ending in a punt, and it was 8.
Wasn't it the entire first half? Was punt, 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 punt,
yeah.
punt,
yeah.
punt, punt.
Yeah.
And I can't remember when they scored the field goal. I don't know whether they scored the field goal in the second half or not. No, because that was one of the stats. So it was the 2 highest scoring offences from the entire season were the Chiefs and the Rams. And in the first half of the last 2 games, they combined for 0 points against the Patriots. Absolutely ridiculous.
I think my favourite was that at one point it said that the Rams' offence had 57 yards and Julian Edelman had 95.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So,
I'm annoyed at myself as well, and we'll come on to that later on.
The first quarter started off quite almost promising because we were just watching Brady being quite almost flustered, not knowing what was going
Very
on.
average.
everyone,
Calling his timeouts to.
we had our basically a large amount of our other league round, and we were talking and we love when Brady's flustered, when he's not winning, when he's not, when he's just like he's got that face that you'd never get tired of hitting it. You'd just be like, I've been hitting it for 19 hours, but no, he'd be back in. Yeah, the 2 timeouts early on, that was like, what is happening here? Why would you do that? Why would you burn through that? The interception that Brady threw right at the start of the game.
First play of the game. Absolutely ridiculous.
The Rams are going to win this one then, are they? Brilliant. That's exactly what I wanted to see. That wasn't what happened. I saw a lot of stuff that was like, this is the worst Super Bowl ever. Our mutual friend Mr. James Panner said that he tuned into the Super Bowl this time. I was like, dude, literally the worst possible Super Bowl that you could have chosen to be your first ride into the Super Bowl world. But then I started seeing stuff like various different sort of social media outlets that was sort of saying, I don't know why people are saying that this is terrible. I don't know why people are saying this is the worst. This is perfect defensive football. And as far as defensive football goes, it was absolutely spot on. They were saying in the booth, in the BBC booth, that game was really going to come down to the fourth quarter, because if you leave your defence on the field for that long, eventually one of them's going to get tired. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be the decider. And unfortunately for everybody, it was the Rams defense that got tired.
So I sent a text during the game to Spanish Steve. Shout out to Spanish Steve. And that text went as follows: well, this has been fucking wank so far. And he came back with, if you love offence, yes. Great defence by the Patriots, and sent me the following tweet that Des Bryant had sent out. How is this game boring? Anything can happen. Oh, I see. A lot of you fake football gurus mad because no team is scoring points. Both teams are under a lot of pressure. Let's see who pipe burst first.
Yeah.
He kind of had a point, I suppose.
And it's interesting because a lot of the people that were saying, I don't know what you're on about, this is a fantastic game, were saying, I've been watching the NFL for 19 years. I've been watching the NFL for 25 years. I've been into football since I was, this big, and I'm 30 something now. And this is some of the best football I've ever seen. So my point, and all I will say, is that depending what you tuned in for, depends what you got out of it. Did you want to see the game where the Rams played the Chiefs and it was the highest scoring football game in history?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Probably did. It's the Super Bowl. This is the height
Bit of action
of the whole season. This is a culmination of every game you've watched, every defeat you didn't want, every game that you wanted somebody to win, and they cinched it. There was a load of mention of the Miami Miracle.
Yeah.
Loads of mention. Oh, why did they bother and all this? If you tuned in for high points, high scores, knocking it out of the park, then just go and watch last year's or something. If you want points and stuff, it wasn't the game for you. If you wanted to see 2 teams that had managed to beat all of the teams to make it to the final, and both teams were talking, great defense and supposed great offense in a lot of ways, then maybe it was a little bit more of your game. And to say it was the worst ever, I think we'd said like the first half it was like, oh God. But then as it moved into the second half was more interesting across the board anyway, but as it moved into the second half, it was very tense. And that tweet probably says it all. It was about who was going to break first.
The fact that the Rams managed to hold off the Patriots and not get annihilated says everything it needs to about the fact that they were in the Super Bowl.
Because it could have been a game where the Patriots scored 32 points and the Rams scored 3.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about the first... So, I didn't see it because I had to excuse myself, shall we say, in the first half. But I didn't see the missed field goal that the Patriots had in the first quarter. So you've got that. There's another 3 points that they could have had.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was another couple of drives where they just came up short, and like you could have argued that like usually the Pats would have scored more points there.
There was wasn't there a touchdown that got missed?
Stopped touchdown when the Rams
in the end zone
were about to score. They were nailed on to score, and it was one of the twin brothers that plays on the
McCourty.
Or one of the
Devin
brothers.
McCourty or is it Jason?
Just came and they were the commentators were saying he came from nowhere.
There was it?
He was
in the end
nowhere
zone twice
to be seen, and he just came running in from the side, and they both went up, and he managed to stop that ball being caught and stop a touchdown. That was a game changer. I think at that point I was like, because I mean that's like Edelman stopping them scoring.
And the Pats had one as well, where Hogan missed. I mean, Hogan missed a lot of things. But
Hogan.
Was he in the end
Did he
zone?
catch a single one of them?
Can't remember him being on screen much,
I don't think... Oh, he was on screen a lot because Brady kept throwing the ball to him. And he didn't... I don't think he caught a single one. He might have caught one of all the times he was passed to.
I'm not sure he did.
Terrible.
Sky was having a melt.
She was going ballistic. Sky's our... she's a genuine American and a genuine Patriots fan.
Jog on.
So, yeah, that's
disgusting.
Yeah.
We had to. We didn't realise she was out on the doorstep for a little bit longer than she should have been when she arrived. And when we realised,
definitely didn't realise.
No, and it was like you need to get in quick because she had a Patriots hat on. It was like if anyone in the street saw her wearing that outside our house.
Best thing was though, earlier in the day she'd sent one of those, like JK sends those pictures that's supposed to be him as like an avatar. She'd sent her avatar thing with a hat on, but whatever she'd used to create it had automatically changed the logo on the hat to be the Rams. So she sent it to the group, and I was like, ah! Next thing it came through, oh no, it's changed it. Here's the actual picture. Patriots. It was like, no, we have to accept your first answer, I'm afraid.
Oops.
So yeah, there you go. It was Super Bowl 53 is in the bag. The 2018 season is done and dusted, and I presume anybody that's watching or listening probably watched it. Tell us what you thought. Was it the best, or was it the worst, or was it just
another
average?
Super Bowl?
Was it just another Super Bowl to watch? I was saying to you today that I think in the off season about going back, because like Game Pass runs through the off season, going back and starting to watch, because obviously you'll never be able to see them all, but going back as far as possible and then starting to watch Super Bowls.
I'm always tempted to sign up for NFL Network in the off season because it's cheaper.
Yeah. You get loads of deals.
And I do enjoy a football life and America's game and stuff like that. Like whenever the season rolls around again, it's always interesting to see when America's game becomes available to watch. Cause it's always good to guess who are going to be the people that are involved in the thing. And I'd imagine that a certain Mr. Edelman will probably be involved in the recording this time.
Started referring to him as the ghost because Julian Edelman probably not far off saying he wins the games for the Patriots, and then nobody remembers him afterwards.
Playoff Julian is a bit of a phenomenon. So
It's
there's only Jerry Rice who's caught more passes than him in the postseason. No?
Yeah. Julian Edelman. Who's he again? What does he do?
That'll be the Super Bowl.
That's the
MVP.
guy that wins all of the games for you, and does all of the stuff,
Like
and he's like
one
every
man
play,
team.
and he's that guy. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember him. Whatever. So,
Do we need to go through the?
you got any predictions you want to?
Let's just see if there's any stats that we haven't already covered.
I think it was the lowest.
Super
The
Bowl
second. It was the
53.
second lowest scoring half in Super Bowl history, because I saw it flash up that the lowest scoring half was 2-0
Yeah.
to someone before. So obviously that was a safety that one of the teams scored.
So, Super Bowl 53, every record set during Julian Edelman dominated lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. So, the Patriots have now matched the Steelers with their NFL record.
Yeah, that was
6
another
Super
thing.
Bowl titles. The victory has given Tom Brady and head coach Bill Belichick a record 6th championship. Brady has also played in the most Super Bowl games now, that's 9, and Belichick has been head coach for the most title games, 9. Brady's also the oldest quarterback at 41 to win a Super Bowl, has the most career passes.
Was it going to be a case of it was either going to be the youngest quarterback to win the Super Bowl ever or the oldest quarterback to win the Super Bowl ever?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
The most career passes at 392, the most completions at 256, and the most passing yards for a career at 2,838.
Hey? I'm very confused.
About?
That stat. Give us it again.
Brady is also the oldest quarterback at 41 to win a Super Bowl and has the most career passes at 392, the most completions at 256, and most passing yards for a career at 2,838.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
None of that makes any sense.
I'm reading it directly off of CBS Sports.
Then
300 passes? He shouldn't mean touchdowns.
They might do. That's not what it says.
CBS, I don't understand his stats.
CBS, but I can categorically say all of that's wrong. So CBS,
Well, he's got over 70,000 yards as it is anyway.
as a career,
Maybe that was his
But in a
stats.
Super Bowl.
Oh! Right. That's his combined Super
For
Bowl
the Super
stats.
Bowl step.
Right.
apologies,
Right.
CBS, don't sue me.
Soz.
Sue him.
Sozards.
Sorry.
Sorry, carry on, please.
Julian Edelman, with his 10 catches and 141 yards, passed Michael Irvin and moved into second place in all-time receiving yards, just behind Jerry Rice.
Son of a bitch. That's just in the postseason, I'm assuming.
That's just for a Super Bowl.
Oh. Okay.
10 catches, 141 yards.
Sounds about right. He had 95 at like half time or something.
The other Super Bowl records set or tied in Sunday night's game. So the oldest head coach, 66. Longest punt, Johnny Hecker, 65 yards. Most games for a team, 11. Patriots. I don't understand that one.
That's their 11th Super Bowl.
Is it?
Yeah, because they had a couple of Super Bowls before Brady and Belichick
Oh,
got
right,
there.
okay, yeah. Patriots. Fewest points in a game for both teams, 16. Fewest points in a game for the winning team, 13. Fewest points through 3 quarters, both teams, 6. Fewest touchdowns in a game for both teams, 1. Fewest pats in a game for both teams, 1. Fewest kickoff returns in a game for both teams, 2. Most consecutive drives ending with a punt in a game for one team, 8. For the Rams. The Rams take that one. Records that were tied. Most field goals in a career, 7. Stephen Koskowski.
That must be 7 in the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl career, yeah. Most receptions in a first half, 7, Julian Edelman.
Tosser.
Most punt returns in a career, 8, Julian Edelman.
Wanker.
Most games won for a team, 6, Patriots.
God, tossers.
Fewest points in a game for a team, 3, Rams.
Losers.
Fewest touchdowns in a game for a team, 0 for the Rams.
Shithouses.
Most first downs by penalty in a game for a team, 4 to the Patriots. Fewest touchdowns passing in a game, both teams, 0. Fewest fumbles lost in a game to both teams, 0.
Huh, no fumbles, interesting.
No fumbles. Oh, we didn't mention Goff's interception. That was sad in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, and what they were saying about Goff is, and this is the difference between inexperience and experience. So they were basically what they were doing was they were saying to Goff, right, here's your play, and your play is you're going to drop back. The person you throw into the ball to is going to run that way, and you're going to throw the ball across them, and that's that. So Goff drops back. The person who's supposed to throw the ball to runs that way, and there's 2 Patriots players there. And over here, there are 2 wide open players. So he looks and he goes, right, that's where I'm throwing the ball, and he throws the ball. And that's the difference, because what they were saying was that Brady, they were like, oh, Brady's not just a quarterback, he's a play caller as well, and that's the difference, because if he sees that person's marked and that person's open, he can make that change, make that adjustment and throw the ball. And that was what they were saying was the difference. They were saying that Goff wasn't looking for the open players, he was just throwing the ball where he was supposed to.
I sort of agree, but loads of that is dependent on how the pocket stays.
Yeah, the pocket.
So the pocket has to be there. You know, all the quarterback's got to be able to scramble and give himself more time to assess the field. And 9 times out of 10, he was basically dropping back and having to throw the ball within 3 seconds.
Yeah, because the pressure was on.
Didn't really have the time to scan.
There was a lot of pressure.
So.
But he was still. I mean, number of times I said in that game, why has he thrown that ball? That player was marked by not 1 but 2 people, and he had somebody wide open. And I think that, that's just something that you.
I think when you are under pressure to release the ball, you only scan the field so far and think, I just need to.
Well, I think the idea there is that you just basically have to hope that because you've gone through the play so many times in practice,
and you've thrown the ball
correctly, the guy will know what play you're running, is that they'll know what route they need to be on, and that they hopefully would be in the position to catch the ball at the end, or it's just going to fall incomplete. Although what they were saying on a podcast I was listening to was that the pass that got intercepted at the end that sort of sealed the game was just a terrible throw. He's not really set himself. If you watch the ball, it doesn't go as a nice tight spiral. It's a bit wobbly all over the place and stuff like that. So he's just panicked. He's not set himself before he's not planted his feet before he's thrown it, and not the best. But
it's just experience, and at the end of the day, I was talking to Cole from the Fantasy League, and who's done the podcast. And we were saying that, I can't remember what I was saying. It's the short version there. Experience. No, it's literally completely gone.
I was going to say, is it a case of
next door smoke alarm?
Interesting.
Saved by the Bell. That I can't remember.
Is it a case of next? We even covered it last week. It was a case of.
That's what I was saying.
Hold that Paul.
What happens now will be the difference. Will Goff come back stronger from this, or because I was saying, this is the point where players can end up getting the yips. You go and you look at someone like Kaepernick. Kaepernick won a Super Bowl.
Definitely did not. He was in the Super Bowl against the Ravens, and the Ravens won. Trust me, son. That was the one where the lights went out.
Conspiracy theory about.
But no, it makes sense. Like Kaepernick was in his first Super Bowl.
So Kaepernick went to the Super Bowl, and then
really
literally the season after that just couldn't play. It was gone. So
I don't know if it was that quick a decline, but he was definitely. It definitely affected him.
So the question is, will Goff end up going that route? Will he just be in his head from now on? I should have made this play. I should have made that play. The worst thing was that they were saying, when they're coming off, it's that thing. You see them with the iPads and stuff with the Microsoft Surface. They're coming off the field and they're replaying those plays. And that at those points in time, those conversations should have been, right. You've thrown it there. You've thrown it incorrectly. You should have been throwing it over there. So keep your eyes out for this and that and the other. But it's just experience.
I think the point there is that like the best players are the ones that are able to say, I made a mistake on that play. I know exactly what I did wrong, and here's the steps I'm going to take to correct it and make sure that I don't make the same mistake again. Which you could argue the Rams did do against the Saints, in the fact that they'd been beaten by the Saints earlier in the season.
Yep.
And they corrected the things that they needed to correct to ensure that they'd win the next game, the next time they played them. I mean, granted, you can't factor in the fact that the ref blew probably the biggest call of the game, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, so you just have to sort of hope that. I mean, again, I keep going back to it, but a podcast I was listening to said he's not really played that well for the last sort of quarter of the season. Goff, he'd been.
The Rams looked a lot better through the earlier season, a few games in and they're winning and they're looking real nice and looking real tight and all that.
Real nice.
Halfway through the season and everything. And then there was a definite decline towards the back end. You can't rewrite history, but the fact that it wasn't the Saints going to the Super Bowl, I think it would have been a different game if it had been that way. And like we keep saying, off the back of a bad call, so
how do we do in this now? How do we do in our predictions?
So in our predictions, appalling is the summary.
Did two people get the winner right? You and James?
So winning team.
I'll have gone for the Patriots because I didn't want them to
correct.
win. So
yeah.
And Panas went for it.
So if we go down them prediction by prediction.
Yep. Number 2, opening coin toss. It was
the Rams.
The Rams. Only you, Cookie, got that right?
2 for 2. Unbelievable.
No, don't
think so.
No, those little gifts.
But you did say that they would take the ball, and they didn't.
Oh, there's a stat.
Oh. Did I?
Apparently.
Interesting.
That doesn't sound like something I would have said.
Take the ball.
There was a stat that got brought up in another podcast I was listening to. So in the previous 8 Super Bowls that Brady and the Patriots had been to, the 5 they'd won, they lost the coin toss. The 3 they lost, they won the coin toss. So when they lost the coin toss, the girl who's the Patriots fan who was on this podcast I was listening to was like, oh, well, we've won now then. That's fine.
Because that's all it takes. The outcome of the coin toss was indeed...
Heads.
Tails.
Was it?
Tails never fails.
I'll tell you.
You got that right. First team to score. I got that right. I went with the Pats. Game MVP. Nobody got that right.
Yeah, I want to come back to that. I'm annoyed. Because I believe at some point during the predictions, I called for Edelman to have a big game. I'm annoyed at myself. I didn't back him.
You didn't back him though, did you?
No, I did not.
No. First team to get a touchdown. There was only me that got that right. I said the Patriots. Touchdown from over 45 yards.
I think it was from 6 yards or something.
I think I was the only one to get that wrong because I said yes. I don't know why. Field guy.
Some guy.
Hey there, field guy.
Field goal from 45 yards or more.
Was the Rams field goal from like 48 or something like that?
50. 1 or 3.
Greg the leg, man.
Greg the leg.
It was just
Greg
James
the
that
leg.
got that wrong. 100 yards or more of rushing. Paul and I got that right. Yes.
What? In the whole game?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. I did not know that was the case.
I'm assuming. Or for a person.
Unless
I don't know what-
unless it was Michelle. Neither C.J. Anderson or Gurley had over 100 yards.
No.
Nowhere near.
2 or more interceptions.
Yes!
Yes. James got that wrong. Quarterback to pass for 300 yards or more.
Probably not.
I said no, got that right.
I won't tell you how much
It was
money
like
I
260, I
lost
think.
on multiple bets featuring the phrase 300 plus.
There. I didn't actually know the answer to this one. I couldn't find it. We were the first team to get a penalty or get penalised.
I think
I'm not sure.
that it was the Patriots, and I think it was a neutral zone infraction.
Well, we all said the Patriots.
I
Tell you what,
think.
you two discuss something and I'll have a look. Stall for me. That's what I'm after. Excellent dead air.
Keep
I can keep
going.
Yeah, just keep going
Just
through
keep
this.
going with the.
13. Defence to score. Touchdown. We all went with yes.
Wow. Fuck a day.
14.
Bad.
25 plus points by half time. James just went with yes, so the rest of us got that right.
Wow.
No, wait, what? Oh yeah, because we said no. That's why we got it right. 50 plus points by full time. Paul, it was just yourself that went with no. Got that right. 4 plus sacks. I don't think there were.
I don't think Brady got sacked, did he?
Don't think so.
Goff got sacked maybe twice.
Twice. It was just James that went with no. 3 plus field goals. James went with no. Got them right. Outcome of the game to be within plus or minus 4 points. It was just myself and James both went with no for that. Quarterback to score a touchdown. James and I went with no. Got that right. And missed field goal or point after. James and I went with yes and got those right.
Panis has won this.
So, I mean, the answer won't affect the score because we all went with the Patriots anyway, so it would either add a point on to everybody or not.
Well, nobody would get points.
Yeah, so it doesn't affect the outcome. So, out of 20, you got 6.
Me?
Yeah. Lowest score, I'm afraid. Our autistic friend in the corner. And James.
You just call me my artistic friend.
Yeah.
Artistic, that was it.
Friend,
Yep.
yeah. You
The
both got
artistic
7
person.
out of 20. And the clear leader with 10 out of 20 is this guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know.
None of the outcomes
Not
were
only did
well.
we have to sit through another Patriots victory, we have to sit through that as well.
I was
Really is,
concerned though, looking that Panas was going to have won.
Yeah, I'm like,
So-
Panis has won this.
Yeah.
Really is the darkest timeline.
Well,
It's true.
there was our tiebreaker as well. With the total points scored. We were.
I think I went for like 50 or something.
You went for a 30-14 score. Paul said 24-21. James
Close.
said 39-21.
Ooh.
I went with 31-28.
Oh, wow.
So technically, you had a score that was closest to the actual. Because were you saying 30-14 to the Rams?
Something like that. Let's go with that.
So closest to the Pats. So there we go.
So I won then, yeah. That's what Rob was saying is I won.
If you like.
So is that it? Have we put a nice round bow on the Super Bowl season? The Nuffler season.
It'll just be the shout outs and the thank yous, I
Yeah.
guess.
Thank yous.
Yeah.
Thank yous. Have you got any?
Just a thank you to all the listeners, really, and the viewers.
All your fans.
I got a list.
I thought we should thanks
You
to
just made the list.
You've made the fucking list.
everyone in the fantasy league.
It's
Yes. All you fellow fantasy bods.
All the fantasy players out there.
Yeah. I'd personally like to thank no one on my fantasy team, as they all didn't turn up for the first 7 weeks. Shitheads. I'll tell you what, I'll give a little special shout out. Stu Woodmansey. Avid listener, devoted follower, podcastee.
I left Stu off because I presumed
He would be
you
on
would
Yeah.
have him on your list. But I second that. I picked the other one up in my fantasy league.
I have a shout out for our other fantasy league, for Harriet and Mike, for coming and sharing many football games with us, and for ganging up on Sky in Patriot Slamming.
Right, every time you keep saying that, I keep thinking, what have you got against Sky? It's a perfectly nice channel.
The sky. It's
And,
blue and it's got clouds.
To follow that up, a shout out for Sky for always taking the banter so graciously. And a special thank you to Sky Bet.
No, fuck off back to Boston. You dick.
But she isn't even from Boston. We still can't wear this one out.
Where's she from?
Nevada.
Vegas.
No,
Detroit!
she's not from Vegas.
Detroit!
Nevada.
Detroit!
No, it's not Vegas.
Nevada. Is it Henderson?
No.
Is it...
Is it Vegas?
No.
I can't think of anywhere else in
It's a
Nevada.
short
Ooh, Reno.
Yes.
She's from Reno, Nevada. Nice.
Poor man's Vegas.
Yeah, that is literally what it is.
Wow.
The biggest little city in the world, as it says in Kingpin.
Right, let's get down to the real thanks.
There was one other, but I assume you'll do it.
Fuck's sake.
Go on.
What's your other one?
No, well, I'll wait until
What's
you
your
finish.
fucking beef?
The one
You
we kept
fucking
mentioning.
mag.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Go.
Right, so special. My thanks are always special. Obviously, not these two Muppets. Special shout out and thanks to Philip and Hannah Walls, so that Phil was able to come on the podcast. It was a big thing for Phil to come. Appreciated it greatly. We gave Hannah a shout out at the time. Just want to give them both a shout out. Don't know if I can.
I was going to add something on the end
And
of that.
congratulations,
Yeah, I was going to add on congratulations.
to Phil and Hannah. We'll leave it there, shall we? Shout out to Matthew Moore for making himself available and always being the guy to call in, because it's a long way for him to come. So he calls in,
Proving
but
that he was
makes,
real.
he makes the time.
I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Carry on.
Makes the time. Shout out to Colin Wright for his for the one and only FaceTimer.
What will be happening again?
Live and learn from that one.
Jesus, no, it won't. Shout out to Robert Rafton for not only boosting his podcast cherry, but then coming to do it 3
weeks in a row.
3 weeks in a row. Big shout out to Rob. To second yours, shout out to Harriet and Mike for being in our other league, and a special shout out to Harriet for being a avid podcast watcher.
Yes.
We had a lovely conversation.
Even when she doesn't understand what the hell
she
you're
was,
talking about.
She was brilliant. On Sunday she was like, I get really sucked into the podcast. I'm like, that's good. She's like, yeah, even if I don't know what you're talking about, I'm just like glued. She's like, you're talking about like computers and stuff. Yeah, getting there. Big shout out to JFG. The mighty,
Was he the first phone-in guest?
could have been the first phone-in guest. Big shout out JFG. James Forrester Gray loves a little phone, does that lad?
That's what we did in the cabin in the woods.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods. Shout out to the Cabin in the Woods.
The Gots.
Shout out to the Gots
Gots.
for allowing us to use the Cabin in the Woods and not be murdered by chainsaw wielding maniacs.
Again.
Once again, second your shout out, my shout out for Sky for being in our other league and having genuine Patriots fan to make fun of. Because She's a Patriots fan, so what else would you do?
Lol. Bants.
Shout out to Toots for being, for what I've written here, Toots for being the villain of the league, for giving us all.
Oh my god, I can only assume
someone
that
take.
if we ever get to like sort of, you know, massive levels of followers and stuff like that, do you reckon it's just going to be a case of everyone's going to get his Twitter handle and just basically pelt him with abuse?
You're a shit, Toots.
Bloody hell! I see you haven't put two T's in your fucking Twitter handle, you fucking dick.
Big shout out to Benji Keep for picking what will be a historic.
Oh my word! Yes,
historic.
Please, Ben.
It will go up there with Colin Wright picking Megatron 6 months after he retired. Next to it will be emblazoned on the statue will be
Jimmy Garoppolo, first overall pick. Jacksonville Jaguars defense, second overall pick.
Benji.
Yeah, boy! This guy knows how to play some fantasy.
Benji's 2018 team.
Do you have the picture?
I do have the picture. I will show the
A
picture.
gracious loser.
I'll show the picture shortly. Shout out to the Stats Mistress for doing stats each week, quizzes each week, and bringing everything together from the numbers side.
Wrongly on occasion, I would like to point out. There
So
was
wrong.
I meant to correct
Yeah,
this
more than we
2
ever
weeks ago. There was some stats that I gave that
Yes.
we couldn't quite fathom.
Quantify.
Yeah, we couldn't work out. And I can't even remember what was wrong with them now. I think it was talking about the matchup between the Chiefs and the Rams from earlier in the season or something.
Yeah.
I gave some stats that were wrong. That's the bottom line.
But the stats
And
were
that's
from
the bottom
earlier.
line.
Earlier in the
Because the
season.
stats mistress
Says so.
said so.
Was that like a WWE
Yeah.
reference?
Fuck off, as if you don't understand when Stone Cold Steve Austin's talking to
Yeah.
you.
I was listening to a podcast today and they just kept talking about rock bottom. And I'm like, but they were talking about hitting rock bottom. But they didn't say...
Hitting the rock bottom.
But they didn't say hitting rock bottom, so they just kept going, rock bottom. And I'm like, I think it's pronounced rock bottom!
Right, man! JR just going wild. Amazing. Shout out to JR, I'm assuming.
Yeah, why
Just
not? Shout out to JR. Shout out to my glamorous co-host, Mr. Paul Williams, at paulwilliams.com. Don't go to that website.
At paulwilliams.com.
It's going to be a thing now.
Is that even a web? I don't think that could be a website.
I'm going to fucking buy it. Did I tell you about the Richard Rawlins thing?
No.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I won't ruin it. For co-hosting with me, I'm making the time to do this every week. So I've got 2 left, because, I like to make a list. 1. Obviously, there's been various points in time when we've shown various things. One of the things that is weird, over there, where you can't see perfectly, is, I was going to say maybe we should is the NFL wall. So,
Ta-da!
the NFL wall features all of our mini helmets, the Seahawks head from when we went to Wembley, the American football, the Super Bowl rings, the American football from Wembley, and various NFL based thingies.
And something that never quite made it.
Right then,
Hello.
do you want to tell people why we're here?
So, this is something we would like to call the NFL podcast recut.
We're calling it that.
Because whilst filming last night, we were doing a thank you section and I closed the laptop lid partially so that we had a better view of some of the things we were saying thank you for, and that cut off the microphone. So we had the videos of myself, you and Paul talking away and no audio to back it up. So when it came to editing it, there was no audio, and so we've had to refilm a small section of the end of the podcast. So you would like to issue a formal apology?
I would not like to officially apologise for anything, but I think you need to apologise to the lovely listeners and people at home watching on YouTube.
bit of splice and dice.
Oh yeah, because it's real easy. And it's only going to take me a mere matter of seconds to do all of this.
That's good then.
Yeah. Obviously that's not the case, and it's going to take forever.
Obviously, we now know that you cannot partially close a laptop lid because it cuts off the audio.
Mm.
Note to
Now,
self. We now know. If somebody had maybe pointed it out at the time, we wouldn't be in this position. But nobody did because nobody thought it was an issue.
I thought it was an issue.
Then why didn't you say anything?
Middle of the podcast, weren't we?
That would have been the perfect time to say something
not.
to stop.
Well, it's not up for debate.
Stop
It's
the
not up
issue
for debate.
arising.
We're not having a debate about
We're not
this.
debating now.
You need to accept responsibility for your actions.
Yeah.
And then you need to apologise to the people at home.
Nobody needs an apology. Do you need an apology? I'm
Let's
sorry.
ask Paul if he needs an apology. Paul? Oh well, no, that's right. Because Paul's not here, is he?
No.
Because Paul's not able to come.
Paul is not dedicated to the cause.
Paul is dedicated because
No.
Paul turns up every week.
Yes. But Paul also said he was going to lip read the videos so that we could just do a voiceover.
He was going to transcribe
Yeah,
the
videos so that we could just do an audio
Yeah.
to support it. Anyway,
No.
this is not the point. The point is that a small section needs re-recording, and we would like to start that section with the rest of the thank yous.
So it was just the shout outs and the thank yous that we were doing. And to my knowledge, I imagine that all the others will be there, apart from the fact that we were doing a little advertisement for Expressions
Yes.
in York. So a big shout out to Chris at Expressions.
Yep.
Just want to sort of give a shout out. Obviously, Paul is aware of Expressions. We spend large amounts of money in there
We do.
to furnish ourselves with all the lovely things that we have that we sometimes show on the podcast. Great source of vintage clothes. Great source of NFL
Loads of NFL,
jerseys,
New Era,
basketball jerseys, baseball jerseys, jackets,
hockey.
T-shirts, hockey jerseys. If you're into American sports and you want to get yourself a jersey, Expressions
Place to go.
in York, Warmgate, get yourself down there.
They've got he operates online as well from a website
Yep.
and posts out, I think,
Yep.
isn't it? Yep.
And there's a Facebook page.
Yep.
Um,
Expressions.
a selection of our mini helmets have come from there. They also do the full size helmets, the Super Bowl rings that I was showing at various points in time. You can get footballs, anything really.
Loads of memorabilia.
If you're in York, or if you live in York, or if you come into York, definitely take the time out of your day to pop in, say hi, say, obviously, you know, you listen to Yorkshire's #1 NFL podcast and you were in the area, so you thought you'd pop in. So yeah, I actually think that, no, did we thank the lovely listeners?
Yes.
That might have been the last shout out.
You
So-
guys at home.
You guys at home are the reason that we do this, or is it boredom?
We just like to talk about the NFL.
We love NFL and we want to like to talk about it. Obviously, our fantasy league is a big thing, but you know, we send it out to you guys and you guys listen. You
Make
guys
it all worthwhile.
watch on YouTube, and you know, when we see those numbers and we see that people are watching and listening, it's cool. So, our final thank you of the podcast goes out to you, the listener.
And then I think we briefly touched on the fact that obviously we'll be back with the new season in September, but we may make a couple of appearances prior to that. Paul had originally talked about maybe doing something off the back of the actual NFL draft
NFL draft,
in
which is
April, did
April,
you say?
May sort of time. So that might be worth checking in on. I think it's going to be a quarterback year this year. And then there'll also be our draft and then
Fantasy draft.
our fantasy draft. There'll be the pre-season to talk about
Yeah.
what the season looks like, the movers and the shakers over the off-season, all sorts of things. Who's returning, who isn't. You know, is Gronk coming back? Will Brady sack it off this year? all that sort of stuff. So we might check in at various points, do like one-off specials, especially if there's something big to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we might try and actually podcast the fantasy draft.
That was talked about.
It's a 12-man team, so a number of people to try and get together. But we can see what's possible. Don't know, that may or may not be interesting to people, but
it's interesting to us.
Yeah, we'll take it from there.
Yep.
So I will say thank you to everybody. Apologies that we've had to recut this. Thank you to Paul for being here in person last night and having to try and voice over some of the final comments he made.
Yep.
There
you go.
Yep.
In the world of podcasting, it's not always smooth sailing. There's times when you lose entire podcasts of audio. There's times when it's not recording properly. There's times when you lose a bit. So this is one of those times, and this is how we go about making it right.
Every day's a learning day. A school day. That's how that goes.
There you go.
Yep.
Nice bit of dead air to end on. Right, for the second time, although it's the first time to you guys, we'll say bye-bye.
Over and
We'll
out.
see you again in the new season. Obviously, check out our other podcasts, of which there are many. Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you to you. Thank you to me.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye. So there we go. That's it. Season is done. 2018 season is in the bag. Super Bowl has been won. I mean, you know, congratulations to the Patriots. You can't argue with how great they are. Unfortunately, it's just I think it's just wearing a little thin now. Condolences to the Rams. Yeah, maybe with experience and time that'll change in the future. We'll have to see next season. So yeah, that's it. That's it for the NFL until next time round later on in the year. We might do like the odd one here and there just to keep our hand in. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening and watching, keeping the NFL going and keeping the NFL podcast going. It's been good. It's been real good. So yeah, tune in for more of our other podcasts, of which there are many. But until next season, I'll say goodbye for now, or I'll see you on another podcast soon. Bye bye.